Your employees are going to use genAI whether you like it or not, regardless of what your policies say. And if they use public models, your data is going to feed back into those models. And one way to avoid that risk is by building your own tool. That's what we did at Clariant. And today I'm going to demonstrate for you our Clarita, our favorite colleague. More about that in a moment. My name is Markus Seppälä. I work for a company called Clariant. Clariant is a specialty chemicals company. We are active in a bunch of different fields. You can see here on the screen, we are in aviation, automotive, and those are only the fields that starts with an A. So our chemicals are in lots of places. I'll give you 3 examples of our chemicals in the real world. Many of you flew here today. And when the winter is cold, ice can build on the control surfaces of the aircraft. We make the de-icing fluid that they spray at the airport to make sure that you can have a safe flight. Many of you also took a shower today. One of our subsidiaries makes ingredients for cosmetics and for shower gels and other beauty products like this. And many of you, this is the 3rd example, many of you would prefer not to die in a fiery inferno at a conference. And for that reason, our company makes flame retardants that go into projectors like that. So, specialty chemicals. It is a little bit of an old-fashioned industry. So you might be thinking, why is somebody from a chemical manufacturer talking about AI? Whenever we present on this topic at like AWS shows, there's all these other tech companies and then there's little Clariant, little chemical company. But I hope I will give you a good reason to think that we have built something nice. So we're going to do a live demo. There's going to be no slides. We're going to do a live demo. And hopefully I will show you that I will use some of the techniques from the Comedy Club to get you engaged. Let's start with a question. And when you ask a question in the Comedy Club, you don't ask people to raise their hand. You ask them to applaud. So, who here uses some generative AI tool at least once a month? Please clap now. Okay. Who uses this pretty much every day? And who uses generative AI less than once a month, or basically never? Okay, that's a very silent response. I did this poll in one of our internal conferences last week. The answer was the same, so at least in our team we have a lot of liars also in the HR team. Good. So we're all using it, and I'm going to give you some examples that you may not have seen before. I will not do a Q&A, so this is more of a, if you have any questions, we will take them as we walk through. So here is Clarita. Clarita is our beautiful chatbot. We like her. She is always there for us on our website. So I'll just start with a simple little demonstration of the interface. On the left-hand side, you have the general assistant. We have the HR navigator, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And on the right side, I can activate different data sources that are available. So I can activate here, for example, access to SharePoint. I can activate Clariant data. I can access my emails through here, and a bunch of other things that we will have a look at. Let's just do a simple example. I'm going to grab a file here. This file is the compensation report that is published, so there's no confidential information here. The compensation report 2024. I'm going to attach it here into our Clarita bot, and then I'm going to ask a question. And in order to ask a question, how do you usually ask a question? What is the input method that you use? Shout it out. How do you ask a question to your chatbot? Okay, nobody's engaging on this topic, so I'm just going to demonstrate this. So I'm going to press the little microphone button here. Attached is a compensation report for a company listed in Switzerland. Does it comply with the legal requirements? Pretty good transcription there. Let's do that. So this is now going to take my compensation report and analyze it for compliance with the Swiss requirements. Obviously, she has the report. She has the training data for the Swiss compliance, the Swiss rules governing compensation reports, and we're going to be getting us a little answer here. So while she works, here is one of the points that I want to make. Other people have also said it, that the data is essential. But often when we see genAI in use, the starting point is often start with a prompt, ask her to do something. I think that's the wrong approach. I think you should always start with the data. That's why I started with attaching the compensation report. So I find that the best use case for any GenAI tool is to give her something to react to. Give her a document to translate, to analyze, to criticize, to shorten, to lengthen, to make it into a poem, whatever it is. Give her something to work with. And this is the example with the compensation report. Okay, we have the analysis of the compensation report here. Let's have a look. We have key compliance elements, blah, blah, blah. We have the board of directors compensation, executive steering committee compensation, blah, blah, blah. Compensation governance, statutory auditors, and additionals. So the report is well structured with the blah, 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 and it's audited by KPMG. It seems to be compliant with the Code of Obligations. This is as expected, huh? But let's do something more fun. Click the microphone. How can the report be improved? So as everybody who is a listed company, we publish the compensation report as part of our annual report. Shareholders have a lot of opinions about our compensation report. Proxy advisors have a lot of opinions, or proxy solicitor has a lot of opinions. And often what comes back here is actually a really good fit for the actual comments that we have received back from our shareholders. It could be something about the performance multiplier that we have for the CEO bonus, for example. It could be something about the disclosure of our performance targets. It could be something about the adjustment of such targets. So let's see what Clarita finds here. I'm only going to do a couple of examples. Okay, we could enhance the transparency around the discretionary adjustments. Yes, exactly. This was more of a problem in the last report, but still, we could do a better job at disclosing them better. Strengthen the pay for performance alignment. That's every compensation report that has ever existed, is that. We have improved the disclosure on the individual performance assessment. And this is one factor that impacts the CEO bonus. The performance rating will be calculated as a multiplier on his bonus. And we did not disclose his individual performance rating. We will in the 25 report. So here's just a good example of a good use of AI. And all of these recommendations that come through, they're actually things that our shareholders and our proxy advisors have said. So I think that's a pretty good use case. Any spontaneous reactions to this? Have you seen it before? Is it impressive? Is it interesting? Any thoughts? Shout it out.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So did I understand correctly that you have that this runs on your own server, or where is the kind of data going to?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Clarita. She runs on physically on our own AWS instance. So that ensures that the data is not leaking out to anywhere else, and that is also why we can use confidential data with this model. And so obviously, as a demonstration now, I'm using the compensation report that was already published, but when I'm drafting the next compensation report, for sure, I'm going to use draft versions of it that has non-public financial information in it, and I can do that because it's actually confidential. We also had an acquisition a couple of years ago. I had the big transaction document, 200 pages of American legalese, and I just wanted to know, is the LTI covered in there or not? And I was able to use the predecessor of Clarita for that because, indeed, it lives in our own model. So data privacy is something that is ensured with this kind of setup. Good question. Any other thoughts? Yes?
When did you start trusting Clarita?
Clarita, we started, I think we...
The outcome of this looks really good, but then there's always someone in your ear saying, maybe it's not correct.
Right.
So there's a point when you need to let go. When was that?
Yeah. So for this type of stuff, when it's about the compliance with the regulatory requirements, we do also work with the auditors. We also do work with our lawyers to get this type of stuff, because this is the type of stuff that you need to get right. But I think it's been a very gradual process. I don't think there's an exact point. The way we launched Clarita is that we launched it before it was done. Like, we did it in a very tech bro kind of way. So we had not figured out all the use cases for Clarita. It was launched to all employees at the same time, and then they get to figure it out. And there's a new version coming out each week of Clarita. So every time you log in, there's something maybe a little bit different. So I don't know that we still completely trust her, because she is, of course, secretly trying to take over our jobs. We have enthusiastic dystopia messages on our coffee cups. One of them is, Clarita is always there for you. So basically, okay, so she's working 24/7. Why aren't you? That's the one dystopian message. The other message we have on the posters is Clarita is your favorite colleague. And I'm like, okay, you continue like that, she's going to be your only colleague very soon. So that's, but...
Another question?
Yes, yes.
So I understand that it's in your Clariant environment, but how to make sure that other colleagues don't read your prompts or the answers? Because you are handling sensitive information. So how to make sure that, I don't know,
Okay, I'll give you two answers.
some finance department is not reading your prompts.
Yeah. So this prompt here, this is only mine. And by default, it does not save the prompt. And it does not save the answer. I can save my prompt if I want to continue the conversation, but I do not have it turned on. So this is not accessible to anybody else kind of by design. We've also had the wish of getting some statistics about how do people use the tools, but that is being blocked by exactly this concern. So we don't save the prompts, we don't save the conversations, because you should be able to have also difficult conversations. Like if you're having a problem with your manager, you could ask Clarita, what should I do? And that should remain confidential. So I think that is not an issue in practice. At least that's the way I've understood it. Let's do another quick demonstration. This could be funny. So in this chat, I'm just going to start a new chat right there. Good. And then I'm going to activate here Clariant data. Okay? And then we're going to do something a little bit different. And with Clariant data, if it works, there we go. So with Clariant data activated, she now has access to 3 additional data sources that are not in her training data. One is our website, the other one is our intranet, and the third one is our document repository, where all the policies, all the procedures, all of that Clariant internal data is stored. So now we can ask things like this. Tell me about our long-term incentive plan. And now, with the Clariant data, she should be able to find at least one of our LTI plans. The right answer is that we have 3 plans, but the most important one is this, the Clariant Long-Term Incentive Plan, the CLIP. Okay, we have the CLIP overview, eligibility, it's available for the Executive Steering Committee members, management level 1 to 4, and so forth. And as you can see here, because we're now in the Clariant data mode, after each, there's a little reference. So I can click there, and then it will immediately jump down to the references, and it will reference the specific sections from that policy. So this is one way in which we can avoid, or at least reduce hallucinations. So the employee who uses this, they would then go into, ideally, they would go into the policy and confirm the accuracy of that answer. But, I mean, that answer is probably correct, but that's a lot of complicated stuff. I don't have time to read that. That's too much. So let's think like an executive. Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. Okay, let's see if we can explain our LTI plan like a 5-year-old. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. Okay, simple explanation, very good. Okay, imagine you have a piggy bank that grows bigger when you do a really good job at work. Now we're talking. This is a long-term incentive plan, okay? Very good. What else do we have here? If you and your team do a really good job over a long period of time, more than a year, your tickets can grow, and so forth. So this is a way to obviously make a little bit of a funny demonstration, but there's a thought behind this, and that is that sometimes we as compensation professionals, we need to be able to explain our plans in simple terms. And also remembering that not everybody speaks English. Our plan documents for this population are only in English. It's only the top executives that are in this plan. But we sometimes need to be able to explain ourselves, and a tool like this will allow you to do so. But it's still too long. It's still way too long. Let's try something else. Explain it to me like I'm 5 and I love dinosaurs and use maximum 100 words. So this prompt sometimes results in comparing the executives to the T-Rex of the company. Let's see what comes out today. Okay, dino treasure hunt. Okay, imagine you're a now we're the T-Rex. Okay, we're the T-Rex helping protect the Clariant dinosaur nest. Okay, when you guard the nest very well for a long time, you get the special dino eggs called performance stock units. Okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking. So obviously this can be quite good for us as total rewards professionals if we want to explain something in simple terms. But remember, this tool is available to all employees. So anybody, if they don't individually understand the policy, they can ask for this kind of clarification. And of course, it will all then be referenced to the correct place as well. And this, so my first point was, ask her to react to data. My second point here is that don't be afraid to ask for a response in a way that you want. Because often, if we hear any criticism about generative AI, is that the response was not exactly what you were looking for. But it's up to you as a user to ask, which format do you want to have it in? And this is a pretty good example of that. That's so how you want the answer, you should specify. And we'll have another look at another moment. Any thoughts about this particular one? Yes, ma'am.
And we are, it's really fun and amazing when we're looking at internal
Sure.
But then it's again just one more system on top of all the systems that people are using every day.
Yeah. No. Yeah, fair enough. So we don't have strong statistics on exactly how much people use it. We do see that people in some countries use it more than others. One outlier is Poland. We have one of our shared service centers in Poland. So maybe that's the kind of work where you need to reference a lot of policies, or you work with a lot of data where that might be. We don't have a lot of data on that. Clarita is only 1 year and a bit old at the moment, so we're not exactly sure about that one. But we do promote it in multiple different ways. So in addition to this HR navigator, which is available here, there's also a sales navigator for the sales employees. There are modules for this for R&D employees. So the company is really pushing it, and my impression certainly is that a lot of people are using it, to the extent that we get these dystopian messages also on the coffee cups. So I think people like it. And one idea that I had here, relating to the previous discussions, is that if we now, so currently we have access to the policies and all of that. We don't have access to success factors yet. But if we did, maybe we could run some of this pay transparency analysis. Maybe an employee who has access through the system to the global job catalog and to the pay ranges, maybe they could ask pay transparency questions to the bot instead of to a person. That is still to be determined. We haven't launched our global job catalog yet, but that is potentially one of the use cases for it. There's certainly there's no shortage of use cases that do come up spontaneously. And that's also the point, that we launched it without much of a roadmap, without much of a thought, what would people use it for. We launched it and people came up with all these great ways of using it. We are, on the dystopian part, we're also at the stage where if somebody leaves the team, there's a goodbye lunch. That goodbye speech is more often than not written by Clarita. And you can tell, and that sucks. Don't do that. Don't do that. So that's our LTI example. I have one more example here in my notes. So let's see if right. I'm going to do one more example here. And this is in the HR Navigator. So the HR Navigator part of Clarita, this is designed to hallucinate less and to reference more the actual HR policies. And this also comes with some disclaimers here, but we should be able to do this. Now I can do a good example or a bad example. I'm going to do the bad example because it's more fun. Where do I find my payslips? Let's see if Clarita is able to answer this with the HR Navigator. So now she should be able to reference the policies that we have. Okay, you can find okay. So your emails will be emailed to you from the time and attendance team. That is a very good answer, but it's not right for me. That may be the process maybe in the US, but this is not the procedure in Switzerland. So where I'm based in Switzerland. So let's do something else. I am based in Switzerland. So with this prompt, she should be able to find the right procedure for me to go into SuccessFactors, go into my file there, and find my payslip. Let's see if these are the same. Paste it through the e-payslip system. Okay, you can access it now. Okay, through the e-payslip. Go to My Success homepage. Scroll down to find the e-payslip file. Click on the e-payslip file. Click on the payslip box and select your part. And that is the correct answer. So a clever employee in this situation, they would say something like, how do I find my payslips? I'm in Switzerland. I did it now in 2 steps. But you can see here that, you know, there's still a little bit of, what do you call it? The process is not smooth. But potentially in the next version, the process will be a little bit smoother, and that is going to be clear as well. Any thoughts about that particular demonstration? I was thinking about, because we saw something about Joule earlier. We have a kind of our own version of Joule already. Any thoughts about that one? Yes.
Does Clarita remember that you're in Switzerland the next time you ask a question?
At the moment, she does not. At the moment, she does not. Potentially, she could infer, because at least in the general tool here, I can give access to my SharePoint. So whatever SharePoint site I have access to, I can give her access to. I can give her access to my email. She may be able to infer that I'm in Switzerland. I could give access to ServiceNow, our ticketing system, or I could give access to web search. I'm not using that in this demonstration because there's confidential information in there. But per default, she does not, but potentially she could. And that could be one of the use cases in the future as well, if we want to ask questions about our own compensation. So the question could be, for me, how am I in the pay band in Switzerland? But at the moment, no. Yes?
How has your job or the team's jobs changed since you launched it? Do you see that there's less tickets on basic questions?
I don't have visibility of that. The tickets go through the Service Hub, and I don't know. We are also going through an HR transformation. So before we get that into a stable way, I don't think we can answer that. My individual job has not really changed, other than that I can make some jokes about Clarita, which I enjoy very much. But I do note one thing. The people in our total rewards team are probably the people in the company who use Clarita the least. When I just anecdotally compare notes to HRBPs, for example, they use it every day. I use it maybe once a month. So there's a big difference, and we talked about that at this internal conference last week. And the theory from Aon, at least, was that because compensation data needs to be so exact, and you can't allow for any hallucinations, any inaccuracies, it's probably going to be one of the last use cases. But when it is something like reviewing a policy, reviewing an email, there's no risk there. So it's a question of different risk. But so far, no huge impact on me. Let me just check my notes here if there was something else that I wanted to check out. So we have that as well. Oh yeah, okay, I will take the question in a moment. So because I do want to make one point here. Of course, I like to talk about Clarita. She's a great tool, and for a old chemical company like ours, it's something that we're very proud of. We do talk about Clarita in our LinkedIn posts, in our annual report. In the management review section, there is a whole, in each section there is a summarized by Clarita section. So we used her actively in our financial reporting as well. So I definitely like talking about Clarita. If you'd like to invite me to your company to talk about Clarita, I'd be very happy to do so. Or if you'd like my keynote leadership lessons from the Comedy Club, I'd be very happy to do that as well. Let's connect in the break. Yes.
I think this is a massive endeavor to get this launched and started. My question is really regarding the investment that has gone behind.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea? Because one of the things many organizations are currently struggling is putting the funds behind this.
Right.
You have your own Clarita version. Because why I'm also asking is again the benefit case for it. Because one thing that we are hearing is that it's working very well for individuals to ask questions and get something back.
Right.
But where AI is not really taking off is other disciplines. People are using it one-on-one on their own job. So that's the biggest benefit that companies will realize and the ROI will be established. So has there been any success stories for you in your organization that you're using across?
We don't have clear visibility about that. I do know what the investment is, but I cannot share that. You don't share price information with other companies. But you know, it is a significant investment, and we're proud to communicate about it as well. Where I think the real return, so far no positions have been eliminated thanks to Clarita, as far as I know. So we're not saying that kind of savings. Where I see the big potential is in automation, is to automate some of the processes. So, for example, the way I do the LTI grant list each year, it's very, very manual. If I could just query success factors and ask, you know, put everybody who is LTI eligible on there, including their grant amounts, and put that on a list so I can send it to the bank, that would be a great way to automate it. And that could really save a lot of time. I think whenever I've asked about the return on investment, the team has not been able to give a very good answer. I think that is to be determined. The compliance aspect, though, I think is important, because if we are able to provide a safe place where people can use these tools, we do avoid those compliance risks that come with using publicly available tools. Some years ago, Clariant was in the news for not so compliant things. So, you know, we take that quite seriously at this point. So I think that's the best answer I can give at this point. Maybe we will have an update when Clarita turns 2. Who knows? Any other thoughts on this? Yes.
Well, this looks lovely. How should I pitch it to our finance people and IT people if I would like this in our organization?
Invite me over for a demonstration. I'll be happy to come over. No, for me, like, I was not involved in the development of this. I was not involved in the approval of this. The way I see it personally is that your employees are going to use these tools anyway. They are going to use the tools that they have available to them. If your tool is complicated or difficult to use, they're going to go to ChatGPT. They're going to go to Gemini. So it's about managing that risk. The other side of that is that you're also then allowing your employees to build competence in using tools. So we have, just for context, we have something called Coffee with Clarita every now and again, where people from across the organization showcase various use cases that were not thought about originally, but it's just a kind of peer-to-peer sharing of some use cases, and people are very creative with this. So I think to nail down specifically what the benefits are, I think it's hard, but to highlight the risks of not using it, in my mind, that is somehow easier to speak about. And I think another pressure that comes, at least in our case, from shareholders is that our shareholders want to know, how are you guys there at Clariant getting ready for AI? Do you have board members who have AI competence in their portfolio? And if they don't, how are they going to learn it? So this is something that a lot of external parties are definitely wanting to see, and that could also apply. It could also apply to candidates. If they see that Clariant has introduced something like this and is actively engaging with it and using it for various things, it could make us a little bit more of an attractive employer. I don't have any strong data on that, but that's kind of one way how I see it. Okay, we've got 1 minute left. Anyone, any last question? Yes.
Yeah, it's about Microsoft Copilot compared to Clarita.
Yeah.
Help me understand, what is the difference? Is it the same? And if so, how does Clarita differentiate?
Yeah, so the difference between Copilot and Clarita, that's actually not my area of expertise. We had a pilot, no pun intended, with Copilot a couple of years ago, and at that time in development, it was found to not be useful in that. So we kind of went down the Clarita route instead and put all of our resources in there. I do like to use Copilot on the web. No, that's one of the good use cases. Just market practice. Which other companies in Switzerland offering ESPP is a prompt that I can do with Copilot, but I cannot do with Clarita. So that one I actually don't have a good answer for, unfortunately. Cool. That brings me to the end of my time. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'd be happy to continue the conversation in the next break.